So up to this point, we can log into our application via Google. That's great. But in a real application, we typically need to store our users in a database. These users can have related data like pictures, posts, and so on. This is where we use adapters. If we use an adapter, when someone logs in, NextAuth will automatically store their data in our database. Let me show you. So here on NextAuth documentation, we have a page for adapters. We have various adapters for different database engines or ORMs. We're going to look at the Prisma adapter. Now, this is where things are a little bit messy at the time of this video because, as I said earlier, NextAuth is becoming auth.js. So when installing this package, we have to make a small change. If we install the Prisma adapter from auth, things are not going to work. We're going to get a TypeScript error. So we have to change this and install Prisma adapter from NextAuth. We also have to install Prisma client, which we have installed already, so we don't need to install it again. So back in the terminal, let's install @nextauth/Prisma adapter. Good. Now back to the documentation. We also have to install Prisma as a development dependency, but again, we installed this before, so we don't have to worry about it. Now, the next step is to specify an adapter as part of initializing NextAuth. So let's go to the route file for initializing NextAuth. On the top, first we import Prisma adapter from NextAuth/Prisma adapter. We should also import our Prisma client that is exported from Prisma/client. Now, in our auth options, we add the adapter property and set it to Prisma adapter. And here we pass our Prisma client. Okay. Now, the next step is to add a bunch of models to our Prisma schema. So look, we have a model called account. We have another one called session for storing user sessions in the database. So that's another strategy. By default, the strategy we have is JWT. So the session is maintained in a JSON Web Token, but we can also store sessions in the database. We'll come back to this later in this video. We also have the user model, but this user model is slightly different from the model that we created earlier. In this user model, the ID field is a string, but in our user model, the ID field is an integer. We also have another model called verification token, which is used in emails. So let's go to our Prisma schema. Now, before we bring the models for the Prisma adapter, first, I want to remove these two models because sometimes changing models and migrating the database can cause issues. We don't want to get distracted with that complexity in this video. So let's remove these two models. We don't need them anymore. Now, here in the terminal, let's run npx prisma migrate dev. So essentially, we are dropping these two tables, product and user. Now it's asking, are you sure you want to create and apply this migration? Yes. Let's give it a name, drop user. All right. Now, if we go back to our database and refresh, good. All right. The user table is gone. Beautiful. Now we can bring all these models and add them to our schema without any conflicts. So let's copy all of them back in our Prisma schema. Let's paste them and then run another migration. So one more time, npx prisma migrate dev. Let's give it a name like add Prisma models. Well, Prisma adapter models, that's a better name. But anyhow, now back in the database, let's refresh. All right, here we have 4 tables, account, session, user, and verification token. Now let's log into our application one more time. Sign in with Google. We get this error saying, try signing in with a different account. Now, if you look up here, the type of error is callback. So essentially, when Google tried to call our application back, something failed. The reason this is happening is because by default, our session strategy is JWT or JSON Web Token. But when we use an adapter, NextAuth changes the session strategy to database. At the time of this video, we cannot use database sessions with social logins or OAuth providers. So we have to go to the route file for initializing next auth and change our session strategy. So here in the auth options, we add another property called session. We set it to an object. Now here we don't have auto completion because we didn't type this constant. So here we can annotate this with next auth options. And now if we press Control and space anywhere, we can see the properties that are valid. So here we're going to change strategy to JWT. Okay, now let's try logging in one more time. All right, we get the same error. Maybe we have to restart our development server. So npm run dev. Good. Now let's go to the home page and sign in one more time. Hopefully it's going to work this time. All right, beautiful. So I'm logged in. And now if we look at our database, here in the user table, you can see my name, my email, and my image. We also have a record in the account table. So a user can have multiple accounts like Facebook, Google, Twitter, and so on. Now here we can see the provider is Google, the type is OAuth. We have a bunch of other columns. For the most part, we don't have to touch these tables.